While agricultural soil appears deep colored at the surface as compared to soil 1 meter down, the reason for color of topsoil is answer rich in organic matter. Explanation: a fertile agricultural soil appears deep colored at the surface as compared to soil 1 meter down. The reason for color of topsoil is rich in organic matter. The dark color of soil is due to the accumulation of leached organic substances and organic matter, which serves as a reservoir of nutrients. The greater the organic content of the soil, the darker is the color. Name the equipment used in measurement thermal behavior of water. Answer: differential differential scanning calorimeter. Explanation: differential scanning calorimeter is the equipment used in measurement thermal behavior of water. Semantic differential is a type of a rating scale designed to measure the connotative meaning of objects, events, and concepts. Differential scanning calorimeter is a thermoanalytical technique in which the difference in the amount of heat required to increase the temperature of a sample and reference is measured as a function of temperature. A real time polymerase chain reaction, also known as quantitative polymerase chain reaction, is a laboratory technique of molecular biology based on the polymerase chain reaction. It monitors the amplification of a targeted DNA molecule during the PCR MALDI-TOF matrix associated laser desorption. Ionization is an ionization technique that uses a laser energy absorbing matrix to create ions from large molecules with minimal fragmentation. A physiological xerophyte is answer Salicornia. Salicornia. Explanation: a physiological xerophyte is Salicornia. Physiological xerophytes have halophytes are plants which grow in salty soil. Although they have abundant amount of water, but due to presence of high salt concentration they cannot use it. Salicornia is a physiological xerophyte. It grows in saline mesh. A non-succulent xerophytes with thick leathery leaves having white sticky waxy coating is answer Calotropis. Answer: a non-succulent xerophytes with thick leathery leaves having white sticky wax coating is Calotropis. Calotropis are flowering plants. They are also known as milkweed because on breaking they release a very milky latex. Along with many species dismissed as weeds, these include the rubber bush and the rubber tree. However, these are tropical plants which require a fair amount of water. Bilaterally symmetrical and acoelomate animals are exemplified by answer Platyhelminthes. Explanation: bilaterally symmetrical and acoelomate animals are exemplified by Platyhelminthes. Like Liver fluke belongs to phylum Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes liver fluke are first acoelomate animals which have organ system organization and bilateral symmetry. Jellyfish, a can a cnidarian animal, is it is acoelomate. Roundworm belongs to phylum Aschelminthes and is a pseudocoelomate animal. Crab belongs to phylum Arthropoda and is bilaterally symmetrical coelomate animal. Hymenolapis nana is answer dwarf tapeworm of man. Explanation: Hymenolapis nana is dwarf tapeworm of man. Hymenolapis nana, like all tapeworms, contain both male and female reproductive structures in each proglottid. This means that the dwarf tapeworm, like other tapeworms, is hermaphroditic. Each segment contains three testes and a single ovary. When a proglottid becomes old and unable to absorb any more nutrition, it is released and is passed through the host digestive tract. This gravid proglottid contains the fertilized eggs, which are sometimes expelled with the feces. However, most of the time the egg may also settle in the microvilli of the small intestine, hatch, and the larva can develop to sexual maturity without ever leaving the host. Three-chambered heart of frog is not as efficient as four-chambered human heart because answer oxygenated and deoxygenated bloods mix up. Explanation: three-chambered heart of frog is not as efficient as four-chambered human heart because oxygenated and deoxygenated blood mix up. The heart is a muscular organ that is part of the circulatory system found in most animals. The heart pumps blood through the blood capillaries of the circulatory system. The circulatory system. The pumped blood carries oxygen and nutrients to different parts of the body. It also carries metabolic waste such as carbon dioxide to be removed through the lungs. In the heart of a frog, three chambers are present consisting of two atria and a single ventricle. The three chambered heart is also known as a transitional heart. The right atrium receives deoxygenated, that is impure blood from the blood veins and drains the various organs of the body. The left atrium receives oxygenated, that is pure blood from the lungs and skin. Both atria empty into the single ventricle. In this system, the deoxygenated and oxygenated blood are mixed in the ventricle before being pumped out of the heart. It is a very inefficient method when compared to the mammalian heart. The heart of a human is four chambered and it is also called a double circuit heart. It This type of heart is divided into four chambers consisting of two atria and two ventricles. The atria receives the blood while the ventricles pump blood to different parts of the body. In the mammalian heart, which is a four chambered, and the heart is divided completely. The atrium and ventricle of the heart are completely separated in four chambered, which prevents the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. This property of the four chambered hearts is highly efficient in nature and provides an advantage to the warm-blooded mammals. Question: which one has the smaller cranial capacity? Answer: rhesus monkey. Explanation: rhesus monkey has the smallest cranial capacity. Rhesus monkey, Macaca mullata, a sand-colored primate native to forest but also found coexisting with humans in northern India, Nepal, eastern and southern China, and south north northern Southeast Asia. Rhesus monkeys have cranial capacities less than 200 units. Which of the following penetrates through skin and enters the intestine? Answer: hookworms. Explanation: hookworm penetrates through skin and enters the intestine. Hookworm larvae are found in human feces and transmitted to humans from contaminated soil through the skin, usually due to walking barefoot or by accidentally ingesting contaminated soil. Once inside the body, larvae are carried through the bloodstream to the lungs and mouth, where they are swallowed, digested, and passed to the small intestine. Intestinal villi are more numerous and larger in posterior part of small intestine than in anterior part because answer there is more digested food in the posterior part. Explanation: intestinal villi are more numerous and larger in posterior part of small intestine than in anterior part because there is more digested food in the posterior part. In the posterior part, maximum absorption of food takes place rather than the digestion process which takes place in the anterior part of duodenum of the small intestine. Intestinal villi are finger like projections that are lined by columnar epithelial cells, thus helping in the absorption of food. So, their large number in the posterior part of this of the smaller intestine than in the large anterior part has nothing to do with the blood supply. The main role of intestinal villi is to absorb the digested food, and this maximum absorption takes place in the posterior part of the small intestine, that is jejunum and ileum. Hence, the intestinal villi are present in large number in the posterior part of the small intestine because of the presence of more digested food in this part of the small intestine. Which of the following statement about glycogen is correct? Answer: it is a polysaccharide which is synthesized and stored in liver cells. Explanation: it is a polysaccharide which is synthesized and stored in liver cells is correct about glycogen. Glycogen is a multi-branched polysaccharide of glucose. Glycogen is the storage form of glucose in animals and humans. Glycogen is synthesized and stored mainly in the liver and the muscles. The glucose that is not immediately used is converted in the liver and muscles into glycogen for storage by the process of glycogenesis. Joint between atlas and odontoid process of axis is pivot joint. Explanation: joint between atlas and odontoid process of axis is pivot joint. The joint between the atlas and axis is a pivot joint of type of joint. It allows the head turn from side to side. The unpaired facial bones is answer vomer. Explanation: the unpaired facial bone is vomer. The facial bones include 14 bones with 6 paired bones and 2 unpaired bones. The paired bones are the maxilla, palatine, zygomatic, nasal, lacrimal, and inferior nasal conchae bones. The unpaired bones are the vomer and mandible bones. Energy flow in an ecosystem is answer unidirectional. Explanation: energy flow in an ecosystem is unidirectional. The energy flow is the term related to the flow of an energy from one organism to another. Ecosystem is the system where living and non-living components interact with each other. First of all, sunlight energy is used by the producer for synthesizing their food. By the process of photosynthesis, carbon dioxide and water are also involved in this process, and glucose is the product. Provides energy to the organism because breakdown of glucose by means of respiration leads to energy of release of energy in the form of ATP. Producer acts as the lowest level in the ecological pyramid of energy. According to Linderman's law of energy, 10% of energy is transferred from one level of ecological pyramid to another level. Because most of the energy is released in the form of heat, and it is also utilized in performing the metabolic activities of organism. That's why there will be transferring of less energy from one trophic level to another trophic level, and the organism which are found at the top most trophic level will get less energy as compared to previous trophic levels. Thus, we can say that the less energy is transferred to the next trophic level. That's why the flow of energy is in an ecosystem is described as the direction of energy from the sunlight to producer and then to the next level of the pyramid of energy. That's why flow of energy in the ecosystem is unidirectional in nature. The stage during which separation of pair homologous chromosome begins is diploteny. Explanation: the stage during which separation of the paired homologous chromosome begins is diploteny. The separation of the paired homologous chromosome begins due to the dissolution of a synaptonemal complex between the two chromosomal arms. Because due to this dissolution, two chromosomal arms repel each other and move apart. Identify the meiotic stage in which homologous chromosomes separate while the sister chromatids remains associated at their centromere. Answer: anaphase. Explanation: in anaphase 1 stage, homologous chromosomes separate while the sister chromatids remain associated at their centromere. In anaphase 1 of anaphase 1 of meiosis, homologous chromosomes separate and pass towards different poles of the spindle, creating two haploid sets of chromosomes. Which is the unique to mitosis and does not occur in meiosis? Answer: homologous chromosomes behave independently. Explanation: homologous chromosomes behave independently is unique to mitosis and does not occur in meiosis. During mitosis, All the chromosomes behave independently, while during meiosis, homologous chromosomes pair up through synapses and form bivalents in zygote stage, substage of prophase 1. Then in Pachydini, substage crossing over occurs between homologous chromosomes, and during diploidy stage substage of prophase 1 of meiosis, chiasma formation takes place. During anaphase of both mitosis and meiosis, chromatids are separated and pulled towards opposite poles. How does steroid hormones influence these cellular activities? Answer: binding to DNA and forming a genohormone complex. Explanation: binding to DNA and forming a gene hormone complex. Steroid hormones influence these cellular activities. The steroid hormones are the group of hormones that relate with the class of chemical compounds called steroids. There are three secretory glands which secrete these steroids, namely the adrenal cortex, testes, and ovaries, and during pregnancy by the placenta. All steroid hormones are taken from cholesterol. cholesterol. Many physiological processes are regulated by these steroid hormones, including the development and function of reproductive system. The binding of a steroid hormone forms a hormone receptor complex that affects gene expression in the target cell's nucleus. The binding of a non steroid hormone activates a secondary messenger that puts its effect on various processes inside the target cell. This steroid hormone then passes through the plasma membrane of a target cell and sticks to intracellular receptors which are present in the nucleus or the cytoplasm. These cell signaling pathways induced by the steroid hormones help to regulate the specific genes on the cell's DNA. On the basis of their receptors, steroid hormones have been classified into five groups: glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, androgens, estrogen, and progesterone. Calcium is required for functioning of enzyme isocitrate dehydrogenase. Explanation: calcium is required for functioning of enzyme isocitrate dehydrogenase. Isocitrate dehydrogenase is the enzyme which plays an active role in conversion of isocitrate to alpha ketoglutarate and carbon dioxide during Krebs cycle. Magnesium and calcium are the elements which acts as a cofactor for the enzyme and competes for the active site of isocitrate dehydrogenase. On addition, calcium leads to decrease in the rate of chemical reactions as calcium ions are bigger in size than magnesium.